Alright, I am back with another Baldur's Gate 3 video, and probably my last Baldur's Gate 3 video for a long time. I'm allowed to say that I got a Starfield review code, and the embargo is the day before it launches, a day or two before it launches, and that's all I can say. I have not played it, I am downloading it as I record this, but I am going to move on from Baldur's to play this, even though I am really loving Baldur's. Today I wanted to talk about why I think Baldur's is probably going to end up winning Game of the Year. This goes against what I said many months ago, that Tears of the Kingdom would be uncontested for the Game of the Year slot. It was just too good, there was too much critical praise for it, and it did not seem like anything could potentially compete with it, except maybe Starfield. I will not rule out Starfield based on, I have not played it, but it's a very big Bethesda game. I think in any other year, it would be the clear front runner if it's even like a remotely competent Skyrim-like, Fallout-like Bethesda game. But now the conversation turns to Baldur's Gate 3, and I will admit this was totally not on my radar at all. When I talked about potential games of the year, other big games coming out, I never really talked about Baldur's Gate 3. And this is a very clear blind spot for me, namely because I don't like turn-based games. I've never played a Baldur's Gate game. I don't play Dungeons and Dragons. And like the Baldur's Gate series 2 was it was 15, 20 years ago, something like that. So this has been a long time in the making, except not for me, because I did not really have any sort of history with this. But this game got praised so much and so highly, and it's setting all sorts of critical records. It's the highest rated PC game ever. Wow, I don't know if it's literally the best PC game ever, but yes, it is very good. And I think it does have a chance, more than a chance, against Tears of the Kingdom, and I think it's probably going to end up winning. This is not to insult Tears of the Kingdom, it's just that I think even when you think Tears of the Kingdom excels, you think about exploration, you think about secrets, and you think about puzzles. Puzzles are kind of the main thing. It's a staple of Zelda this time around. We have all these physics-based puzzles based on the new mechanics and attaching things and reversing time, and you can come up with all these different creative solutions to these shrines. Though in a way, it sort of feels like Portal, where all these shrine rooms are effectively the same aesthetic, and the puzzles are different, but it's a little bit detached from the story. You're doing this to just sort of farm materials and things, and then the story exists outside of this. And there are some really good story elements in Zelda. It's, at least for a Zelda game, I don't think story has been Zelda's strongest suit in most of its games, but there are some good elements in there. I just think Baldur's can compete on kind of all fronts. The obvious one is exploration, even though this is not a fully open world. If you explore these pretty large maps, you will find a ton of secrets, some that are so easy to miss, and they're not little puzzles in the same sense. There are some puzzles, but the feeling of exploration, the feeling of discovering something very cool is there. And it also usually comes with a neat story component. It's not just you find this secret thing somewhere. It's a little quest, and there's characters, and however small it is, it's still the same sort of thing, but kind of upgraded in a sense. And then when it comes to puzzles, I think Baldur's Gate competes on this front too. It's just a different kind of puzzle. Zelda has its shrines and its dungeons and its physics-based puzzles, and thinking of how do I get up to this ledge, or how do I activate this thing. Baldur's Gate has story puzzles, and it has combat puzzles. The combat puzzles are as a result of the turn-based mechanics of the game. This isn't a game where it's not Diablo, you're not mowing through dungeons of things. You get put in very specific fight encounters. So there will be 4 strong guys or 2 strong guys and 11, not strong guys. And you have to figure out how to navigate these combat scenarios without dying, something I'm very bad at. So I've been playing it easy, but I have been slowly getting better and better over time. And, well, sometimes it's just, run around and hit attack and kill everything. A lot of the time, it really makes you kind of strategize in a way you hadn't previously. And I talked a little bit about this on Twitter, but the primary example I can think of, this is like mildly spoilery, but there's this town in the middle of this shrouded darkness land, and it's protected by one woman who makes a big dome shield that keeps the darkness out. And there's a part of the storyline where this guy who has angel wings comes, I guess he's a corrupted former town person or something, and he is trying to kidnap her and take her away. And he bursts in the door, and then he summons all these winged demons, and they attack the main inn of the town. And the goal here is not just to have your party survive, it's that everyone is going to relentlessly attack this specific woman, and if they go through all her HP points, that means she is abducted and taken away. And I'm like, okay, it was really hard to stop her from dying. If you kill the main guy, 5 demons swing in and do their claws and she dies. So I'm like, okay, this is probably supposed to happen. And then I go outside and then the dome shield goes away. And then everyone in this town I have spoken to, dozens of people, turn into shadow corrupted monsters. And I'm supposed to kill all of them. And the main woman's like, it doesn't matter if they used to be your friends, go kill them. And I'm like, no thank you. I do not want to do this. So I went back and I was trying to fight my way through and actually save her. I'm like, there has to be a way to save her. And in this scenario, it wasn't just kill everything before it can get to her. And some people were saying online oh, you cast all these protective spells on her and deflect damage and heal her and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, but what if I just stack a bunch of chairs and benches and candlesticks against all of the doors in the room so no one can get in? And the only guy who could get in is the guy who came through the main doorway to start it. So I start the encounter. The guy flies in. I use Karlach to hit him with a hammer. He flies into the corner of the room. He is now stuck between the bed, the wall, and one of my characters. So he can't get at her. I wail on him until he dies. All of the other demons cannot get in the room because I blocked it off. And the rest of the townspeople start killing the demons for me. And then once I know she's safe, I exit the room and I start kind of assassinating the remaining demons. Save her, save the town. I think one random town person died. That was it. And that was awesome. That felt like a puzzle I solved when there are many other ways to solve that. Many people did do this thing where they cast a bunch of spells on her, or they just brute forced their way through everything and killed everything so fast they couldn't get... There were a lot of different ways to do that. So that is a combat puzzle. This game also has story puzzles, where this is kind of an RPG thing, but we are well beyond Mass Effect here, where it's do you want to be an asshole and push this guy off a roof, or do you want to spare him and he gives you some information? It's a lot more complicated than that, even with kind of minor quests. So this one isn't really spoilery because it's so minor, but there's this woman who wants you to steal, is it Guthraki? I don't remember the name. They're orcs, sort of, with no noses. She wants you to steal an egg from their city or whatever, encampment. Creche, that's what it's called. And the egg, their children are born from eggs. So she wants you to steal a child and bring it back to her, and she will pay us money. Her goal is to raise the child and see if you can raise one of these orc things peacefully. I have an orc girl in my party, Lae'zel, and she was like, you better not do this. I will disown you and probably kill you if you do this. So I'm like, okay, well, I want money, but I don't want my teammate to hate me, and I don't really want to kidnap a child and give it to this crazy lady. So I'm a bard, so I use my persuasion to tell her that she has to pay me up front. So she gave me 500 golds, And then I just took control of Lae'zel and I killed her. And I looted her. She had some really good mage stuff on her. And that was the end of the quest. I did not have to kidnap a child. I may have murdered everyone in that camp later, but that wasn't my fault. But that was a way to solve that quest where, again, I could have gotten the egg and never given it to her. I think I heard that you can trick her with a different kind of egg. Maybe I didn't even have to trick her for the money. Maybe I could have just killed her and she had 500 gold on her. I'm not sure if that works. But there are many, many ways to approach this problem. And like Bethesda games kind of get into this territory with Fallout and Elder Scrolls, like a little bit. You could solve problems just through murdering the people who give you the quest and stuff. But this seems more complex than that. And it's a different form of puzzle solving that kind of scratches the same Zelda itch to a certain extent. Like if you like really thinking about solutions and you're like not really into just open combat or whatever, both of these games are kind of for you. Yeah, there is combat in Zelda that is more action oriented than here, but that's a relatively minor part of the game compared to exploration and puzzling. I don't really deduct points from Zelda like some people do, where they're like, oh, it's just a DLC for the first game because they're using the same map, and like, okay, that, I don't buy that. Like, they added so much to that. I didn't recognize anything in the main Hyrule area other than like the major zones. They added the Sky Zone, they added underground zone. They added more than enough for this to be a sequel. They did keep some things I don't like. They kept weapon durability and kind of doubled down on that, although that was better once you could fuse things to weapons, which made them less crappy and more powerful. I just think between exploration, story, like characterization, like Zelda doesn't have characterization really. Like, you learn some things about the backstory of the land, but like compared to Baldur's, it's like 2% of what Baldur's has in terms of how characterization works. This is yet another game which is going to produce iconic video game romances like Mass Effect did, like I would argue Cyberpunk did, in ways you will not forget. I've romanced Karlach, and I just reached, not the end, but like a very significant moment in that. And it was like one of the cutest things I've ever seen in a game. It was just so heartwarming, and like you just don't really see that in a lot of games. And then combine that with the puzzling aspects of combat and quest design and all the different ways you can go through different situations. Like there's infinite number of ways. Like Zelda might have wacky solutions to things, but there are still like, set ways to solve puzzles, where Baldur's is like, it's so sprawling and like off the wall, and the things you can do in each encounter, in each quest are just truly wild, to the point where like you can't even comprehend it. Like, you don't even know the decisions you're not making. You don't even know the strategies you're not using. It's not just like, oh, I know what I'm supposed to do, but I'm going to do this crazy thing and like solve the puzzle. It's like, it's miles beyond that in a way where I really get what people are saying about this. I am sad to put it down. It's going to be a while, I think, until I can pick it back up. Starfield is going to be very, very life-consuming. New Destiny season starting. Yes, I have to play the new Destiny season. I'm never going to miss a Destiny season. Spider-Man, there's a lot of things. So I do hope to get back to Baldur's when there's a dead period. I'm sure I have like 80 more hours to go. I think I'm 30 hours in. At least I made it to Act 2. At least I romanced Karlach. So that is my kind of thought on the whole Tears versus Baldur's, which I do think will be probably the top 2 finalists for Game of the Year. And now I think Baldur's will win. So let me know what you think in the comments. If there's any dark horses I should be considering here. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.